Welcome back to the podcast. I'm Paul.
And I'm Mark.
And today we got a special guest with us. Really special guest.
So special.
Wife, mother, outdoors woman,
Yes, outdoors woman.
occupational therapist.
Yes.
My wife Lacey's going to join us today. Last time we kind of discussed some of the female perspectives of hunting, kind of how those differ. And we figured we really need a female to give their perspective on hunting and the outdoors in general.
I'll do my best.
So I'm sure you'll do a good job.
Yes.
So before we get too far into it, a couple news things and Dad and I were just talking about this the other day. Apparently there was a 2021 amendment to the Maine Constitution regarding the rights to food and hunting and how you acquire food and stuff like that. And I came across it there was a news article regarding a couple that sued the state in regards to the outlawing of Sunday hunting. And they said that amendment to the Constitution was in direct conflict with Sunday hunting not being allowed. It was shot down because in that amendment, they say, they use the terminology legal methods to hunt or grow your food and stuff like that. So no poaching and stuff like that. So it's illegal to hunt on Sunday. But yeah, as I get digging around and reading, I'm like, why is there a law addressing the right to food? You would kind of think that's like an unalienable.
Right. That's a given.
That's something you just take for granted.
Something we all do.
Yeah, that was interesting. You said you already knew about it?
I had heard that, Paul, and I didn't know the exact wording or anything like that. I should have looked it up, but I had heard something on it. Probably in one of these sporting magazines, either the Maine Sportsman or the Northwood Sporting Journal had an article or something about it a few years ago. But I didn't delve into it or anything or look into it. But I knew the basic concept of what you just said, that we protecting our right to food, to acquire food and stuff. And
where was this couple from?
They're from Southern Maine that sued the...
But they probably didn't have anything to do with the bill itself, other than when the bill was established. Yeah, they just probably thought, well, if we have a right to procure food, to obtain food, then Sunday hunting, the not having Sunday hunting would block that.
Goes against it.
Would be so. Yeah,
but it clearly states in that amendment, because I was reading the amendment. It says, by all legal means,
right.
And so that excludes poaching or any illegal methods to harvesting and whatnot. But yeah, I just got my wheels turning. You start going kind of backwards. You're like, wait, there's an amendment. There's a constitutional amendment to the right to food. And then you're reading it and you're like, this actually kind of creates more questions than the problems it solves. And I didn't know we had a problem to solve there, but they like to create a problem to solve.
Yeah. A lot of waste of time.
Yeah, I wasted 30 minutes of my life. I was like, this is pointless.
Would you like to hunt on Sundays?
We've talked about that, and I'm kind of 50-50. Would you like me to hunt on Sunday?
Well, now the kids are getting older, it wouldn't be as much of a problem, probably.
Well, I'll tell you.
Because that would give them more of an opportunity to hunt because you work throughout the week. Yeah. So it would allow children whose families work full-time to have more opportunities to be outside and hunting. That's
one side of it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Lacey. And you think of it, a lot of times you go to the camper hunting on the weekends.
Yeah, and we have to pack.
And when you come out on Sunday, you can't hunt. You're in the woods.
A lot of times, we get up and we leave, and we see a partridge on the way out, and the kids are like, "Get it!" And we're like, "We can't
do anything about it."
Yeah. So it would be the same with deer hunting too.
Yeah,
you have such a limited window of like November and part of December for muzzle loading. So Sundays would give families a great opportunity to secure meat.
Yeah.
If they're interested in it for the meat.
And that's the argument that this family was using.
Right.
I think they had 5 kids.
Which I think, if you have a big family, and it's the best meat, really, in my opinion.
Yeah, you love wild game, don't you?
Well, that's venison.
Venison.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not much of a moose.
I don't care for moose. I'm not really interested in bear. I know you've had it.
Yeah, bear's good. You like bear, don't you, Dad?
Yeah, I've had some of it. Yeah,
Is it oily, like fatty?
They say it is, Lacey. It all depends on how you prepare it when you butcher it and stuff, and preparing it right. But
yeah, I'm a big fan of deer venison. But yeah, I don't know. I think they could make some. I don't know. Then you go into the whole like Sunday or like having a day of where you're not
day rest.
Like if you're have a faith component or spiritual aspect to your life, you probably need to consider that too.
A lot of landowners, so on the flip side, a lot of landowners like a day that, have not.
Yeah.
I think that's the main thing of why we don't have Sunday hunting in Maine is
Hyundai hunting.
Yeah. The landowners don't want it, and they carry a lot of weight. So
but I think for birds, it would be nice to be able to like
small game.
Yeah, like when we are leaving the woods, because like when you work all week and then you want to go up on a Friday night like we do or something.
Yeah, you
only have Saturday, and if the weather stinks and it's windy and rainy, then you're limited there. A lot of times that's what happens. We go up, it's rainy, windy Saturday, and then Sunday the sun's shining.
Coming out.
Yeah.
Or how many times deer hunting you go out and you get terrible tracking conditions, and Sunday driving out, it's like holy smokes, just got to snow that night.
The deer are like yes.
We've seen a lot of big bucks too on Sunday.
Yeah.
Coming out.
Yeah, going in too. Sometimes
on Sunday.
Going in on Sunday. Yeah.
So then also like people that work that are like professional hunters or guides, they also think about it. It gives them a day off.
Needs it, yeah.
Right? So they've got new clients coming in and going out.
Yeah.
It gives them a day to turn over everything and
and
kind of get things
I guess you can
back
see
in order.
Two sides to it.
There is, yeah. So I'm about 50-50.
Yeah, same here, Paul.
Yeah.
I can see both sides.
I wouldn't complain if they did, and
I guess it wouldn't be bad to, see an opportunity for youth or children to have maybe some more flexibility.
Yeah.
Other than just youth day.
Yep.
If you want to try to increase the children growing up and being interested in it.
Yeah.
But.
So, Lacey, I guess we'll get into. You grew up in a hunting family.
Yeah. A bit different than your style.
Yeah. Your dad loves to deer hunt.
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
Not much for anything else, right?
No, I didn't do any bird hunting until I started dating you.
Yeah. Not really, didn't really fish.
A little bit. I remember doing a little bit of fishing, but I don't believe it wasn't fly fishing.
And I was thinking too, he's never moose hunted.
No.
And I would have figured that would have been up his alley.
It may, he may just not have the opportunity to. It's a big endeavor. That's quite a big endeavor.
It is, yeah. A lot of people love it.
A lot of people love it.
Yeah, they would rather do that.
I mean, you got to get the time off from work, and you have to. You guys, when you shot that, shot that moose, it was gutting it and cleaning it and hauling it out, and
the work part. You're right, Lacey. But as far as the time part, it requires less time than deer hunting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because if you're going to get drawn, you've got 1 week. You got 6 days to hunt. Whereas deer hunting, you have basically, if you include muzzle loading, you have 5 weeks.
Yeah.
More if you want to archery hunt.
But do you know what week you're going to have, or is it?
You do not. You get drawn for a week.
So you have to kind of work around. Hopefully, your work will honor that.
Yeah,
that is true. And I've run into a problem there when I get drawn and worked for UPS.
Yeah.
So
that might have been some of it too. I don't know. You'd have to ask him. But a little bit of fishing when I was younger, and then
deer hunting.
Predominantly deer hunting.
Yeah.
Obviously. Yeah. I didn't. He wasn't around much in November.
No, he used all his vacation time.
Yeah.
For November. So you were exposed.
He missed my birthday a lot, like you do.
So that was.
And I followed the trail. I just kept going. I don't know what was wrong with me.
So we'll get into your birthday here in a minute.
Wow. I'm used to it. So
yeah. So you were exposed to it young. Knew the whole game as far as someone really, really liking deer hunting. And then we started dating, and you got exposed to more stuff, camping.
I got exposed
canoeing.
To a lot outdoors when I started dating you.
Yeah.
I had never been in a kayak.
Yeah,
and we went on the Aroostook River, and I was like, I don't know if I like the idea of sitting on top of water right now. It was very new to me.
Yeah, and I take it for granted.
Because I didn't even know how to swim.
You were raised on the water, Paul.
Yeah.
I didn't know how to swim.
I know.
So I started doing things with you that I was just trusting, like putting a life jacket on or life vest and like going with it. And then camping. I mean, going out into the woods to use the bathroom. I'm like, where am I supposed to use the bathroom?
I remember that first trip.
And you're like,
we were up.
There was no outhouse. It was just a box in the woods, basically with a toilet seat
The
on
thunder
it.
box.
Yeah, looking back.
And he's like right there. I'm like, that?
Looking back,
I'll go in the bushes.
Looking back, there could have been some deal breakers. Like
I think I was pretty easygoing for the most part.
You were, because I remember that's normal. You know, we get to a campsite and she goes, where do I use the bathroom? Like, follow that trail right out there. There literally was a toilet seat on top of a box.
This was not any glamping at all.
Wide open.
Yeah, they called it a thunder box.
You're like,
thunder
I'm
box.
not using that.
Like, what?
I'll pick a tree. You get 2 options.
It's your choice.
Yeah, that was,
or hold it, huh, Paul?
So that was
you get 3 nights.
That was all new. Fly fishing. Hooked you in the back one time in the canoe with the fly rod. But yeah,
we were out in the canoe. She got me smack dab in the middle of my fly vest, so I couldn't.
You couldn't.
You know, you're trying to reach behind.
It's like the worst.
And I'm like, I can't get it there. I can't
try
get it there.
to get a hook out.
So I take the fly vest off and I spin it around.
I will say though, for someone who's new at fly fishing, you didn't stay on your side of the canoe very well. You were swinging over to my side, back to your side. You were quite competitive.
That's his fault.
He may have learned that from me.
I might be a little aggressive.
I was thinking that, Paul, before you said that, I'm thinking he learned that from me.
He was fishing. He's like, you fish over here and I'm going to fish over here. And then I'm like, oh, there's some jumping. And then he's like, whoo,
it's
right
called covering all the water.
Yeah, he was covering it all right.
Yeah.
You get 1 shot, and if you miss it, it's my turn.
Yeah, apparently.
You may not get the 1 shot if you hesitate.
So, yeah. A lot of the newness of outdoors sports type stuff like that.
Yeah. So, I mean, you learned a lot.
And I did youth day as I got older. I took a shot. I had a couple shots at some deer. I did actually shoot a deer, wounded it, and was really devastated by that because the bullet hit. We could tell that it kicked and I hit it, and it would have been my first buck. I think it was like a 4-point or 6-point.
Okay.
And we searched, couldn't. It was just there was no snow, and it was getting dark at that point. And then come to find out, a guy not far from there had shot a buck, and when they were skinning it, they found my bullet, and they knew my dad, and they knew that we were hunting in that area, and so I felt better knowing that someone else,
that kind of,
that somebody
like
got
that
the deer.
it didn't die in the woods.
Sure.
I was really bothered that night. So I didn't want to waste it.
Because you're an animal lover too.
I am, yeah. But when it comes to hunting, it's important, for the meat aspect of it, and that I'm okay with that. But as long as you're making use of it and not wasting anything.
Yeah. Now that's one thing with Lacey is she 100% would take venison over beef.
Oh, absolutely.
Over even bison, because you like bison.
I would do venison, then bison, and then beef.
Yeah, deer season. You're bummed if someone doesn't come back with a deer.
Yeah.
It's kind of a big.
And like this past year, you didn't really meet the meat quota.
You said you were going to go easy on me.
You got the trophy. The trophy back.
That's right.
But its hind end was gone.
Yeah.
But no. So, but we did get some deer meat, so.
We did. Enough people shot deer in the family that.
Yeah. But yeah.
They made up for it.
So that was the first buck, and then I think my dad, I look back on it and I'm like, yeah, he probably should have taken his shot, because I think that was the biggest buck. There was like a 12-point, and he let me shoot at it, and I missed it.
Yeah.
And
that's kind of what dads do.
It's kind of what you do for your kid, I guess.
Yep.
But, yeah. So other than that, I haven't gotten a deer.
We let you do that, Paul, but there's a point that.
Yeah, you're not letting me do it now.
Well, there's a point that you got to feel confident that, your child can do that.
Yeah.
You don't want them, if you don't think they're capable of making the shot, you're probably going to,
clearly, I guess he thought I was capable, but
exactly.
it didn't work out.
Yeah.
But I look back and I'm like, he should have just taken the shot at it.
But you're right, Lacey. He did feel you were capable, or he wouldn't have let you shoot.
Yeah.
Well, you're a good shot.
Darn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You grew up, you shot a lot.
I don't shoot a lot, though, like throughout the year.
Not like you used to. I think you used to shoot more.
Well, I used to go out to the range and shoot with them.
Yeah.
And, I wasn't afraid of the gun or anything like that.
Well, your
No.
dad's a real good shot, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
it was, I enjoyed it. I used to get up and go with him, checking fields and
Yeah.
falling asleep, and then waking back up. And,
Yeah, that's your type of
Maybe having a snack, Lacey,
getting
here.
a snack.
snacks.
Yeah, I
naps,
wasn't,
and-
so I wasn't familiar with tracking or anything like that because that wasn't his style
Yeah.
either. Until you took me tracking last year. Was it last year?
Yeah, that
or
was 2 years ago.
2 years
That was
ago.
really probably your first time, wasn't it?
Tracking through the woods. Yeah.
Yeah. And you did good. We were into deer.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a good experience. You see a lot more. You see deer activity.
Yeah,
what
it's
they're
really
doing.
neat to see how actually they're not that far ahead of you, really.
So, early years, it's fine. Then it just, we get married. It's you and I.
Mm.
So, and I go away to deer camp.
Yeah, no, I'm
For a
not
week.
allowed. Women aren't allowed at deer camp.
And your birthday falls on Thanksgiving week,
Yeah.
which is deer camp week.
November 23rd.
Yeah.
Yeah. In some years, it's right on Thanksgiving. So,
This
And
past year was.
yeah,
Yeah.
it rotates.
So you knew the deal.
Yeah.
But then.
Yes, Paul, I knew the deal.
Yeah.
It was in the contract.
The prenup.
It was.
There was no money involved with marriage. It was
Yeah.
more like the
No.
prenup involved hunting.
Yeah.
No babies
Yeah.
will be born. I will be gone.
We were pushing the envelope with Bo.
So you were looking at the contract, Lacey, saying, "Is there anything in here for me,
Yeah.
or is it all for you?"
What are you
Paul?
talking?
Is this all about you?
You got it.
But I
You
got
got the trophy.
I've got the what's it called?
Trophy husband.
No, what's it called? I've got the golden egg.
Yeah, you got the golden.
Yeah.
I
egg.
got the golden egg.
No, there was no contract.
No.
There's no. It's all fine and dandy. Husbands and wives hunting and fishing or whatnot when there's no kids. Maybe with some people it's not fine and dandy. Some spouses. But once you throw kids into the mix,
Life just gets a whole lot harder in a lot of ways.
it does. So,
But that's just the nature of it.
yeah. Life gets busier and a lot more complex.
Well, you have lack of sleep.
Yeah.
Kids get sick. Work.
Which it doesn't matter
You're not focused on yourselves anymore.
every year. That Sunday I head into deer
Mm.
camp. There's usually a phone call. Someone's sick. Something's happened.
Hasn't been
Yeah.
that bad.
It's almost like, isn't
No,
it, Dad?
it's not. I don't recall it being every Sunday.
There was one year I just get to camp. You had an infection.
You're on your own on this one, Paul.
Okay, wait. That was one year I had mastitis.
That was Sunday night at deer camp.
Yeah.
Well,
Person.
it started Saturday. I didn't feel good Saturday night.
You did. You were feeling a lot under the
I
weather.
woke up Sunday morning feeling a little feverish. You left that morning,
Yeah.
and then the fever just continued throughout the day. And then I had to get antibiotics that night.
Yeah.
And thankfully, your mom drove probably too fast over to hit the pharmacy before they closed
Yeah.
that night. But yeah, how many other Sundays have there been?
No, I know. Usually kids are sick.
You're being a bit dramatic with that one.
Yeah.
I'm not dramatic.
Oh, of course
We
not.
might
Drama.
have to have a timeout here.
Yeah. We'll do some editing.
Yeah.
Whatever.
You see my veins popping in my head. It's because we just had an argument. No.
No, this isn't an argument.
So one thing
But
that,
yeah, kids get sick.
yeah.
Things happen.
So one
Life
thing
happens.
so we were talking on the last podcast. Dad,
Wait, well, hold on a second. What
Okay.
about when you were a kid?
It happened, Lacey. That it happened, and yeah, I can remember. I went, and the bad thing about Nard and myself, Lacey, when I went to deer camp, there was no getting a hold of me.
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
I'm sure this was how many years ago when Paul's you're how old?
42.
We were
You
we
know?
were 50 miles or 60 miles west of Ashland.
You didn't probably have cell phones.
They didn't have cell
No.
phones, and
So once you left the driveway,
that was it.
that was it. There's no calling you 20
That was
minutes.
it.
Well, and that's been
Yeah.
that way a lot with our trips.
Yeah.
Because a lot of our trips.
No, but I
when we've
could
been
still get in
together,
touch with you for at least another 45 minutes maybe before you're out of service.
Going into the yeah.
Yeah.
going into the
As
woods.
soon as he's gone, he's
You're
gone.
right.
Yeah, and
No.
stuff happened, and you're right, Lacey. And I remember one year it wasn't anybody get sick, but the furnace went out and
Oh
it
my
was
God,
cold.
that's right.
Yeah.
And
Those
and,
those things can happen.
you don't just swap out a furnace in the middle of the night. I mean,
So that easy.
she pretty much had a technician there all week, I think, every night trying to get the furnace to
maybe that was
run.
the story she told you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Mark, the furnace was out.
And the funny thing is, Lacey, Paul resembles the furnace technician.
Oh, yeah.
So
This must have been for your sister.
Oh, it's all coming out now.
It's all coming back.
Yeah.
Hope he doesn't get on Ancestry.com or something like that.
Yeah. Well, no.
Oh gosh.
We can disprove that.
Yeah.
So, we talked about this last time. Is you see a lot of people that once they get married, they may stop hunting and fishing altogether.
Yeah.
Because there's so much.
Oh, it can create a lot of conflict in a lot of ways. And there's a lot of factors that go into that too.
There are.
If both spouses are working full time.
Well, and kids, like we mentioned.
Kids are in activities, or they're infants, they're not sleeping, and sleep is one of the most important things you need to have on a daily basis to function well. So when you've got one person not getting their rest and they just feel like they're, getting by, and then the other support person's gone.
Yeah.
That's a lot. So it's really important to have good communication.
I love that word.
Have a good
support,
good foundation in the marriage.
Yeah.
And making sure you have a community of support around you,
For a lot of guys, like for me, it's kind of part of who I am.
Mm-hmm.
I would feel like a complete sellout.
No, and I wouldn't want you to stay home and not hunt, but it's important to
I don't think every wife feels that way.
It's just important. I think it's what's important for me is to know that if there was an emergency or something major happened, that you would be there, and we, like your family doesn't take a back seat to what's really important.
How major are we talking?
Yeah. Define emergency.
Let's define emergency. Well, see, if I'm in the hospital, a car accident.
Is it something I can fix if I'm there?
You need to be there for your kids. So
I can't fix them.
But I'm just saying, I think a spouse needs to know that. A truly caring spouse that doesn't want you to get rid of who you are or put that part of you away, but wants to know that in true need that you'll be there. I think that's what a lot of people just want to know.
Because otherwise, I think if
it's a healthy relationship, they'll want that person to continue,
because that's part of their identity. That's who they are.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, if you start chipping away at yourself that way, then you're just.
I mean, especially if it's like it's not all year.
Yeah, and there's a lot of seasons.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about when I was.
Are you talking about like outdoors?
Yeah, I mean, there's
in general, outdoors,
spring fishing.
Oh yeah.
And there's fly fishing in June.
Yeah.
And then we've got bird season.
Well, but there's we go camping and there's summer.
Lulls. Yeah, we spend a lot of July and August camping.
But a lot of that happens as a family thing too.
Yeah.
Well, that's the great thing about it, because you're at the stage now where your kids are old enough and you can make it a family affair. Yeah. You include everybody, and that's great for everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, your kids and spending time together with your kids, and that's a fantastic
Bo
thing.
brings it up a lot right now.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna go camping.
He's gonna go to camp.
Yeah.
He's gonna go to camp.
I'm going camp. I want to go fishing. I'm gonna shoot my gun.
And we're almost to the point where we can kind of hold that over his head with stuff. Like,
for right now,
you can't go to camp if you do that. But
I don't think the girls are going to be as interested, obviously, in going fishing at the beginning of June when the black flies are horrible.
Yeah, that's hard.
I know. I don't have any interest in doing that.
No. But
that's when the girls will take trips and go shopping.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's part of it. When they as the ages when you get out of diapers and you get out of those younger, really, like they're really dependent on you years, and they start to get older, then there's some more freedom and wiggle room. Yeah. And then it doesn't feel so burdensome all the time when you are left alone.
Right.
Yeah.
You can do your own thing.
Like they can go with you a lot easier, and there's less of just, needing to feel like you got to bring the whole house with you whenever you go somewhere.
Yeah.
You know how it is. I mean, you pack up and go somewhere for a night and you got to bring everything, and you got babies, and diaper bags and all the stuff. And
so I guess for, for a lot of couples, there's got to be give and take, right? On both sides. But yeah, you see a lot of people that it's almost like they can't do it.
Yeah.
They're not allowed to.
Well, I don't know if they're not allowed to, or they just not speaking up for what they really want to do or what they care about.
But do you think they don't speak up because of it would cause too much strife and
that's where it goes back to being able to communicate and share your thoughts and feelings in a controlled, regulated manner without, and then is it really a healthy relationship?
Yeah. Yeah.
This is, it's funny. I was just thinking that what you're talking about. So I've been through 3 generations of that. Myself as a child with my dad and my mom and sisters and brother, and then myself raised in a family, and now watching my kids raise a family. And
that's a good point.
So I've got, so I've been all the through the 3 different stages of being a husband and a father.
And is it all consistent?
Yeah, it changes over the years, Lacey. It's changed.
I think it's definitely changed.
We've talked about that. Paul and I have talked about that. It is
what's changed?
The male role in the house has changed. They take a much more they're required to take a much more active role than like my grandparents. Well,
and I'm sure like if you ask your Nana, she'll always say, "Oh, I remember."
She had 4 kids.
I remember.
I was there. That's the thing.
You basically were all a year apart.
But you might not remember like the early, like when you were little, right?
Yeah, I can remember back to 5, 6 years old.
But before that,
they weren't single. Not single, but they weren't childless very long in the marriage.
But when you were, you don't remember being obviously in diapers that age range.
No.
So like when she was in the thick of it, like not sleeping and taking care of babies.
Yeah, and she had 4.
And they were pretty close in age. Like she always says to me to this day, "Oh, I remember." Like it brings her back like instantly. I think when she sees, with the kids and like things we're doing, or she'll laugh and so. I mean, I think from a woman, like a mom, a wife's perspective, she understands that piece of it.
And it was different back then as far as.
But yeah, the roles were different because men weren't even in the delivery rooms.
I was just going to say that. I remember
Dad never even when we were born. My father never took a day off from work or anything.
Yeah,
he went. He might get out of work and come to the hospital for a couple hours, but he was right back to work.
Yeah.
And the next day he was back to work.
And the men didn't go in the delivery room. They weren't
he
part
didn't
of the
go
whole
in.
process.
No.
It was a different ball game.
So he had a funny story about that because he was at a hunting or a fishing camp. It was a camp anyway with a bunch of men, and Paul knows this story, and he came back, and he told my mom, his wife, he says, "I've bought a camp."
Yeah.
She had no idea. So sitting around the poker table with a bunch of men, like I said, I don't know whether they were hunting or fishing or whatever. But the camp they were in, he bought.
Yeah.
How would that go over?
At the poker table.
No, I don't know. I'm kind of like personality, like, oh, that's awesome, cool, But
I will say, when it comes to buying stuff,
I'm like, go for it.
Lacey's the one that I can talk her into
buying.
buying.
How would you feel?
That's a pretty major purchase when you come home and you tell your wife. And here's Mom's perspective on it.
But she didn't have a car. She was home.
She didn't have a car.
With little babies.
The house was not finished.
The house wasn't finished.
We were all living in like 2 rooms in the house.
And he was working full time.
Yeah. And
or more than full time, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's one more thing to the plate. So I don't think I would have been as excited if I were her.
She was not excited.
That's called lack of communication.
Yeah.
But I don't know. How would you feel if I said I did something like that?
Yeah, that would bother me.
It wouldn't go over well.
Yeah,
That'd be like me bringing a dog home without talking to you about it.
You pretty much did.
No, I waited. It all goes back to just treating each other with respect and being able to talk about things.
Right, Lacey?
Share your feelings and come up with compromises, respecting each other and not trying to change somebody
Yeah.
But you ultimately are going to have to bend and work with each other if you get married. That's what marriage is. Yeah. You can't be selfish. You have to be selfless.
No, you're right. Putting the other person first. And give and take.
And then you want to teach your kids that because you don't want them to grow up to be little jerks. No. So you started early.
Yeah.
I did at 10 years old when I was old enough to go out. That was...
And Narda was glad of it. She was glad that, that was a time to spend time together, as a family. Quality time. But
even taking him for a week in November.
Yeah, she had no problem with that. She thought it was great.
I think in that book I got you, I'm trying to remember the author. Is it John Eldridge or...
There's a couple that you've gotten me recently.
Where he talks about there's a time in a boy's life where he needs those opportunities and those risk-taking, those adventures.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Like the outdoors and...
Well, okay, that's something very important as far as like a developmental thing with a kid in the outdoors.
But a young boy in particular, I think.
Yeah, well...
Girls also, but I think that this was focused on like a male...
Yeah. See, I don't want to make generalizations of the current time that we're in, but even more so in Dad's generation, there was a next level of independence,
right?
Where it made you like you did stuff out on your own, and you developed. I think kids don't have that independence nowadays to learn things like on their own. Like even me, I would go down to the brook at a young age with a fishing pole out in the woods, and you'd be fishing for a while. Then you might build a cabin, and then you probably do a lot of things that you shouldn't do. Like
start a grass fire.
You do a lot of things.
Yeah. I've been there.
And you talk about risk. You do think you kind of push the envelope. It's like, I can remember.
Do you remember that book I'm talking about?
Yeah. And you don't want to like shelter it's hard because you don't want to shelter your kids so much that you make them into little soft, like they can't discover anything on their own and do it.
No,
but like I look back of going up into trees and building tree houses and stuff, and I would be petrified right now of my kids doing that. But I did it at 10 or 11 years old and like 25 feet up in a tree or 30 feet in a tree.
There's even this theory behind that too, even in like the world of working with kids and pediatrics and stuff, and you're trying to get them to accomplish tasks. You want them to develop a level of mastery and confidence to be able to go to the next level. So you might be starting out really small, but that's kind of what kids will do naturally if you give them the environment to do it.
You give them the autonomy to kind of discover their environment on their own.
So you gain that sense of like, oh, I did this, or I can do this, and you figured something else out, and then they continue, and then yeah. So, but it is a lot different. I don't know if I can't compare because I'm not like, it's not like I grew up in your dad's time.
Yeah.
But I will say like doesn't feel like I grew up riding my bike and doing things by myself at that age, and I don't feel like I would want to let our kids do that at times.
I know, but it's one of those things that you have to kind of let.
We talk about generations. Yeah, we were very, very independent at a young age in my generation. But Lacy, my great grandfather, was on a ship at 13 years old on his own, working on a ship around the world at 13.
That's extreme.
He was it wasn't back then. But
to think of it now, that sounds extreme.
To think of it now, and we're looking at it through the lens of our culture or our time.
But we have a lot of things that have changed though too, where we have a lot of I want to say we have more drug issues.
Yeah,
I would say like hard drugs, heavier drugs going on.
Yeah.
There's a lot of, I think, unhealthy individuals due to, an increase in technology and social media and how much time is being spent on those.
Yeah.
And it's just, I feel like it's harder to trust individuals. And there's a sense of people aren't connected in community the way they used to be.
No, you're right. But back to, I was just talking to someone the other day about, and of course, once you have kids, it puts those things in perspective. But he was telling me, I think he said he was 7 or 9 when he shot his first deer out on his own.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He's in his 80s. Yeah. And I'm thinking I've got a 9-year-old, and I can't imagine sending her out back with a rifle,
right,
and shooting a deer.
Yeah,
and,
it was different times. You grew up a lot faster.
Yeah,
you were an adult a lot faster. You hear countless stories of people in 8th grade. They were done school. That was it. They needed to go to work.
They had to go to work to help support the family.
Next level of responsibility.
Yeah.
Then compared to now,
it was a different world for sure.
So, I guess there's a lot of women that love to hunt with their spouses.
Yeah, you don't take me very much.
Just as much as. Oh, we do a lot of bird hunting.
Bird hunting.
Deer hunting. Well, I mean, I like to deer hunt differently than I think you would.
Well, I'm not saying I need to track 10 miles a day, but.
And I don't know how I would feel because you're not waking me up in the morning to be like, hey, let's go deer hunting today. You know, it's not like you're.
Well, I don't really have the opportunity though. With the kids.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I don't know how I would feel if I had a wife that wanted to hunt just as bad as I did. Might put a little wrench into things. Might change.
Could be a conflict on the other side of the spectrum.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you get it made. You've got somebody who likes to hunt, but not as much as you.
Says the woman I'm married to. So from a woman's perspective, married to a hunter, any advice or anything that you would tell other women out there or men?
Just be considerate, communicate.
Be considerate of the other person.
C's. Considerate, communicate.
Communicate, love that word.
And
life is a balance, isn't it, Lacey?
And just compromise. There we go.
Yeah, compromise.
You have to.
My 3 C's.
Everything has to be balanced and stuff, and you can overdo it.
Yeah.
And it can go too much in either way.
Oh, you're right.
So just say be considerate of one another, be selfless, but also respect each other's interests.
Yeah.
And allow time for that, and communicate. Make sure you're on the same page. What's coming up? What's going on? And then compromise. At times,
there's going to be give and take. Right?
There's going to be give and take. If you're going to be gone, a lot during that month, then when you come back, if there's things that the other person wants to focus on or wants to have time to do X, Y, Z, just kind of make sure that those things happen.
Yeah.
Or agree to get a dog if that's the case.
That's
it's
when you didn't want one.
Yeah.
As a guy that likes to hunt, I see. We listen to a lot of podcasts, Paul, and watch a lot of YouTube channels and stuff. And as a guy that likes to hunt, I actually see these young men that I think they're overdoing it. I think they.
Yeah, I don't. Are these guys married? And
have kids, and I don't know how.
Yeah.
I couldn't do that, even if my wife allowed me.
You talking about some of the guys they influence online?
Yeah. Some of the younger guys that and like I say, I love to hunt, and I think they're not being fair to their spouses, their wives, and I get it that they have a passion for it, but you know what? In life.
Don't think
the number one thing, Lacy, is our families.
Yeah.
That's the number one thing.
Yeah.
And you can like I say, it's a balance. And
well, I think later on, they can. Who knows what can happen in the future? But you could come to regret some of those choices. They're not putting your family.
You
first.
can overdo it.
Yeah,
so
you can overdo it.
It can be.
I don't understand how they can.
I don't want to say like addiction, but it can be, and not maladaptive. But destructive.
I think sometimes maybe if that's the case, if they're that passionate, have they checked in and been like, hey, how are you feeling about this?
Yeah.
Are you okay with me doing this? Or because maybe that might open the door to allow the other person to say, actually, I'm
not okay.
I'm feeling quite neglected, or this isn't working for me. So might, just checking in might be.
So you're back at communication.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a big thing.
So I think, yeah.
You hate that?
I do. Probably because I'm a terrible communicator.
But my point is it's not that. It's not because these guys, most of them are saying, I love, my wife gives me this. But as my perspective is, I wouldn't want to do that.
No, I know.
Whether my wife would let me or not, I don't think it's fair to the family,
right,
and the kids,
and my wife and
Yeah.
the kids to do it to that extent.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if you sat them both down and actually, are they real? Is the other person, the wife, really being honest about it, or are they
right.
Are they being honest about it, or are they just portraying that?
Yeah,
I don't know.
And even if the wife says she's good with it now, what's going to be the effect long term on the relationship? Because even if she says she's all right, you know, they're losing some, I think, some connection and some.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And I will say, even growing up, you know, you do lose some of that connection with your kids too.
Well, you
if you don't,
you can't reclaim time.
No.
It's just gone.
and if
you are,
so if you're
Lacey.
always gone and you're not making an effort to kind of, you know, step in at other points to keep that relationship or those connections, whether it's your spouse or your kids, it's gone.
Yep.
And then later on, when you don't have the relationship that you want, you can't be upset about that.
Yep.
So my number one priority, and I know Paul's is too, and his number one priority is the family, and that one of our biggest responsibilities with the family is providing an income. So I have a job. I can't go 5 weeks and go deer hunting when I'm working.
No.
When I was working, I can't do that. I was satisfied with having Thanksgiving week, and then for a while I was satisfied with Thanksgiving to Saturday.
Yeah.
The 3 days, other than Saturdays during the month of November. So there again, my number one focus was the family, and in that was my job to supply for the family.
Yeah.
That's what I was there for.
Yeah.
And to neglect that, to say, well, I can get away with, you know, not working the whole month. These young men, I don't know how they can do that. I don't know.
That's the question, I think, a lot of times. And that's where it comes to social media. And we wonder, like, what's really true, what's going on, because there is this theme now in culture, and you see it across a lot of families or accounts you follow online that, like, I want my husband to be home and I want to retire him from his, like, 8 to 5 job. And so they're, you know, showcasing these ways, or somehow that they're selling you something that you can do. And I'm trying to figure out, like, how are people doing this? And in some ways, if they are, that's great. But
I don't buy most.
You still can't just be home. Like, there's still something going on behind the scenes. You know what I mean?
Most of what I see, I automatically just don't believe anyway.
Like, I'm a
skeptic with most.
Someone still has to be cleaning the house. Someone still has to be taking care of things.
There's usually more to the story.
Kids still have to be homeschooled or schooled or going to school, or, you know, there's still life that has to happen. So it's not like just this dreamboat that reality doesn't exist anymore.
And I think a lot of the people that, you know, we see on social media that you're talking about, like on YouTube and stuff, I think obviously those are exceptions to the rule.
Yes,
right? So
absolutely.
And it can be easy to.
And that's why they're putting out these podcasts and YouTube channels. They do it a lot. So they, you know, and but like I say, my mindset is I wouldn't want to do that. I have a responsibility to my family and my wife and my children to be the father and to be the breadwinner.
Yeah.
And to God or your faith.
Yeah.
You know, that's a component for you. There's another C. I have another C for you.
Another C?
Just be conscientious, you know?
Yeah.
Like you have to check in with yourself and and see, like, what am I doing here?
Yeah.
Well, that's what exactly what I was saying. Even if my wife was all on board with that, I couldn't do that. It wouldn't sit well with my conscience. I would, you know, I have responsibilities I have to meet, and I would feel like I wasn't meeting those responsibilities. So.
And I love my week of deer camp, and I feel like 1 week, and I don't want to say I would feel guilty if it was more, but I feel like
you sure do appreciate it.
1 week's good,
yeah,
and I feel like I can go all in 100%,
right,
and that's fine. But like I cherish all those bird hunting trips we do, like, and the kids do. Like, we leave late, we'll leave after work late at night. And matter of fact, kids actually ask now to go in at night because they've got so many good memories about driving in.
Because there's something special. I mean, you go in, you see the stars.
They like to have, because when they were real little.
You see nocturnal animals that you don't see during the day. You know, like, they get to see a different.
When they were real little, they'd be in their pajamas already. So when we get to camp or the camper, they're already for bed, and they can already get tucked in, get settled in, have a snack while we're unloading everything. But they'll like lay down and like you get in the woods and you can see the stars. Like there's no light pollution, and so Lydia they'll ask like, can we go in at night so we can wear our pajamas and watch the stars?
Well, it's an adventure.
Like so like that stuff is wicked important, and I wouldn't want to sacrifice those times.
You talking about like the other people that might be chasing after?
Yeah, because I mean, you can hunt across this country for many months. You can fill many months.
Yeah.
And go. And
so you're saying that after a certain time period, you would start to feel kind of like you would long for your family.
Oh my God. Yeah, I would not.
Yeah.
I would not, for a couple of reasons. One is you lose appreciation. It's like that with everything in life. If you get to do something every day,
kind of gets old after a while.
It loses meaning.
It comes back to the balance I talked about. Life
is
balance, and
And there's
so you wouldn't want to go out west and like be on all these big hunting trips and like be flopping back and forth or anything like that.
I don't like traveling. I don't like being overstimulated. I don't like
leaving Aroostook County.
I don't like being like busy and hectic. I like things kind of scheduled out and a little bit slower pace. I think life's hectic and crazy enough as it is right now. I don't want to be jumping from plane to plane to location, and my heart is near and dear to Maine and the type of hunting we do here.
Northern Maine,
and it's not really.
And you're satisfied with that.
Oh yeah,
and you're satisfied with that.
And and I think 1 week is great. It may not be, someone can do a month. Maybe they're retired or something like that. But even
so, you're telling me you don't want to do what Dick Prenicky did?
If I'm gonna do something like that, I'm not gonna get married and have kids. You make that decision right then and there. Like if your goal is you want to hunt and fish for a living, you don't get married.
Did he have a wife too?
No.
Oh, he didn't?
No. But this past fall, you hunted how many days out of the month?
I counted them up, Paul, in my log.
You were gone quite a bit, weren't
22
you?
days.
Yeah, you were.
I remember.
You're not gone for 22 days. You're back and forth.
Right.
And there's,
and it's a totally different thing. And my wife is free to do what she, she, no kids at home.
She's free to live it up.
Yeah, there's more furnacemen coming over.
Yeah, so
I have a lot of furnace issues in November.
That's a totally different.
She's gonna watch us and be like, "What?
What furnace guy?"
My role as a breadwinner has ended. I don't feel guilty about not being at work and not. I'm being paid now to go hunting. Yeah, so it's a whole different, and eventually, you two will be there. That's another thing about life too, Lacey. When you look at your life at a certain stage, like you people right now, myself, and I can remember being at that stage, and I used to think, man, I want to do this and I want to do that, and I may travel to hunt and travel to fish, and now I'm at the stage I have the money and I have the time, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to me. I'm happy with where I am, and
we be content whether we have a little or a lot.
Your perspectives change over, and so the things that you think you really want to do when you're 35, when you get to 65, they may not, and they may be.
So I guess the question is, should we really do them when you're 35 so you don't lose that later on?
I don't know. I think a lot of that comes from you always want what you don't have.
Right.
So when you're at 35, you can't do it.
Yeah. I have no regrets, Lacey.
Yeah.
You dream about what I would do if I had the time and what I would do if I have the money. And so I'm at the stage now where, like I say, if I wanted to do it, I could do it. You just don't have
any interest in doing it.
And I'm physically able to do it and financially able to do it. And I have the time, but it doesn't mean that much to me.
There's no interest.
I'd rather spend time with family, with and I still like to go, and I love to hunt like Paul. I love to hunt northern Maine and fish northern Maine, and I don't need to travel to Labrador or to Montana to
Well, a lot of people want to come here just to hunt and fish, don't they?
Yeah. And I mean, we've been to Labrador.
Yeah.
And it was fun.
It was fun. And
but you can
I
still
catch just as big fish.
I was going to say, you can still catch just as, if not nicer, right?
I catch more. No problem at all.
Yeah.
So I guess
maybe not as consistently as big.
I guess it depends on like what your focus is then. Like, do you have to put a pin in that you've been into this location, or are you looking for certain catch?
And some people like that, and that's fine.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, some people want to.
Yeah, if they still want to do that, that's good. My values have changed over the years, and my perspective has changed over the years. And what I thought was important at 35, you find out doesn't hold the same importance at 65. And it's not because I can't do it or don't feel like doing it. My wants have changed.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And finding satisfaction in life, you find it in different places, and
it always makes me think of, and this always resonated with me. So my favorite fishing author, John Gyrick. I always remember, and I forget which book, he's at Sony Books, but I always remember.
And we have them all.
Yeah, I always remember an excerpt in a book, and it really resonated with me. I can remember, if I recall the story correctly, there were fish underneath a bridge, a couple fish that were like consistently jumping. They were like 12-inch brook trout or whatever, cutthroats or whatever they were, I forget. And there was something about, he kept seeing them, and he kind of had this thought, like, I got to see if I can catch those. And it was just, most people, it would have been like an insignificant achievement. But he took some time to try to catch those two or one fish, whatever it was. And it was not a significant fish, nothing. It was just the challenge behind it, and on a little local stream. And I always think of that, you know, sometimes a trophy is in the eye of the beholder.
Yeah.
And it's not always the biggest and the best, but sometimes the circumstances behind which you catch it or harvest it or whatever.
You can even go one step further, Paul, and get to the point, you know, and I can remember as a young man, you know, you get them any way you could, you know. How about getting to the point where you can actually say, I'm not even going to catch the fish. I'm going to look at them.
Yeah, watch it.
I'm just going to watch them. I don't have to catch those fish. I'm at the point in my life where I can enjoy just knowing they're there and looking at them. And I don't even have to catch them.
No, because
and be satisfied with the day and enjoy the day. Yeah. So.
Yeah, definitely change in mindset.
Perspectives change.
Wisdom.
Anything else perspective-wise?
No, just...
Because women think differently than men.
Yeah, they do.
I assume. But
I think, you know, if someone is considerate enough of the other person, then, and it's a compatible situation.
Yeah. So what were all the C's you had?
Oh, I've got more now. Seems like we got compatibility, conscientious, considerate,
communicate,
caring, compassion,
and compromise.
I'm good at all those, right?
But like, yeah, like just, you know, work together. Check in, ask questions, make sure things are working out, balance, like you said, balance.
Yeah.
And think ahead, like, you know, ask yourself, am I going to end up regretting this at another point?
Because you know ahead of time, come to your season.
I actually
know kind of how the season's structured.
I even start planning. Like, I purposely don't plan certain like appointments in November. I don't plan eye doctors really and dentist visits and doctor visits, or even when, you know, different things. Like, I try to avoid that, so I'm not stressing myself out on the other end. Like, I try to keep it minimal because I know my other half isn't going to be around as much.
Yeah.
So like, I do those things to offset. And even Christmas, you know, I like I always check in with you in October, and I'd be like, "Hey, Christmas is coming.
Christmas shopping.
What do you like? What do we want to do for this?" Or you know, I just start checking in with you because I know you're not going to be around as much to talk about it.
Yeah.
And then I don't want to be stressed come December trying to figure it all out. So like, yeah, there's some thinking ahead, and you know, just planning ahead a little bit.
Yeah.
And I know ahead of time, like I know you get certain weeks off every year, and I know one of those weeks is going to be
Thanksgiving week. Yeah.
And you're usually pretty good about making sure I get a card in the mail while you're gone.
And it is your birthday that week.
And taking me out before you leave.
There's a lot of, I call it damage control.
And scheduling.
Maybe it's time to, we gotta.
scheduling a massage for me, but
yeah.
Give and take, right?
Yeah, right?
I got to butter you up before I take off for a week.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I guess we wanted to get a woman's perspective. Probably need to get Mom on here too.
Maybe we can do a part B, Paul.
Yeah.
If we can talk her into it. I don't know if she'll.
Just because I mean, I don't feel right putting words in a woman's mouth, you know, as far as.
That's dangerous. That's dangerous territory, Paul.
It is.
You know what?
It is.
I would like to hear her view now because she didn't complain much when I went. So I would like to hear if she just.
You want to know the truth?
Yeah.
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 So she's going to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it might be the furnace guy.
Maybe that's why she wasn't
complaining. No complaining.
I can still picture that guy, the little round glasses.
I didn't have any furnace guys around.
Yeah.
What the heck?
Yeah. So anyway.
All right.
Well, I guess just to finish it up, we're going to be fishing soon.
Yeah, and hopefully in a few weeks, Paul. Yeah.
We're into April now.
Yeah.
Right now. I think we've got probably a third of our snow in one snowstorm.
Yeah, we talked on all these podcasts all winter long, Paul, about the lack of winter, and it showed up
in one storm.
Well, two actually. We had 2 feet here 2 weeks ago. Last Saturday, we had not so much here, 5 inches in Fort Fairfield, but I see in Castle Hill they had 12 inches.
Yeah,
that's 2 storms, and we got one coming tomorrow.
Which looks like it's going to miss us.
But still,
stay south.
In places, they're calling for up to 24 inches of snow in places actually southwest of here.
Yeah. And Lacey, you called it.
What's that?
I kept saying, boys, we're going to get an early spring.
Well,
said,
the groundhog.
We're going to pay for it.
And we did pay for it.
What's the groundhog?
Puxatawny Phil.
Oh, Puxatawny Phil.
Lydia's like, he said we're going to have an early spring. And I'm like, I know.
Liar.
Well, he's a liar. It's all a pack of lies. No, yeah. I had a feeling. I'm like, this has been too good to be true.
Yeah.
We're going to get dumped on. And sure enough.
Which is destroying my yard.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of people are tearing up their yard trying to move snow this time of year. It's not good.
I'll be glad, though, as once we're done, like as long as we don't get another snowstorm on Mother's Day, because we had that one year, and that wasn't good.
We did.
That wasn't good.
Yeah, well into May. Had a big snowstorm.
I was pregnant that year with Bo, I think.
So,
have you been to the lake?
I was up. No, I haven't been.
Wondering what the ice is looking like.
Yeah, no, I haven't been up in over a week, Paul.
Well, we better close this out. You got company coming.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we wanted a wife's perspective.
And we got it.
We got it. She was pretty, I thought you were going to come at me with guns a-blaring, but you were good.
Oh my gosh. Is that my nature, Paul?
No, it's not. You're pretty good natured about that stuff.
Like I said, I get my card in the mail. You take me to dinner.
Yeah.
You schedule a massage. Yeah.
Well, thanks for being a good sport. We appreciate you coming on.
Thanks for having me. It's been a treat. It's been a
best
treat.
Part of your day, wasn't it?
Oh yes.
So, all right, won't be long. We'll be out fishing, doing that fun stuff. So,
okay. Remember,
get outside.
It's good for the soul.
There you go.
See ya.